Okay, so this is the recording about the story of my mom's little sister, Mary Bellia. But even though officially and legally her first name was Mary, she always went by the name of Bellia. And my mom always described her, and I talked to Aunt Jo about this years ago as well, and Bellia, as you know, means beautiful. And they talk about her like there's not even one picture of her. I wish there was, but I can picture her. And it reminds me, as my mom told me in the distant past, that when Rosie was little, Rosie had kind of golden, was almost blonde. It wasn't that white blonde, but she had golden hair, curly hair, and that's how my mom described Bellia, that she was so beautiful. Well, okay, so it was around the time right before Easter, 1934, and of course, so she was my mom's younger sister. She was born in 1930, and Mom was born in 1926, so she was 4 years older than her. So in 1934, and even then my mom didn't know exactly, but here's what she told me. She had some heart condition, and I don't know if it was scarlet fever, but she was in the hospital. She went into the hospital. It was related to her heart, but also she had fevers and such, and her legs were blue. And she told me that for a long time, because that her brothers and sisters would make fun of her because she had blue legs. So, I don't know exactly what that was, and she doesn't recall. She never recalled even when she first told me these stories, which she told me over the years, because I want to get this as close to fact, if you will, as possible, since I'm putting this recording down to posterity. So my mom was quite ill, and she was in the hospital, and what she did not know, a day or two after she was in the hospital, and now I'm thinking, she did tell me the name of the hospital. I don't know if it was Porter's. Honestly, that's another fact. I have that somewhere in the records, but my memory's failing me there now as to when or where she was, which hospital. But unbeknownst to my mother, who would have been 8 at that time. No, she was 7, because she wouldn't have turned 8 until November of 1934. So she was just barely 7. And she was quite ill. Didn't know that her younger sister, a couple days later, also had to go into the hospital. It was something like pneumonia, some respiratory issue. So her little sister was very ill. Pardon me. And my mom told me this story, that one night she was dreaming while she was in the hospital, and she had this dream that she was walking with her dad and her mom and her little sister, and they were all holding hands. And while they were walking, her sister fell into a black hole. And apparently that night, because my mom always had that sort of sensitivity, was the night that Bellia died. And it was terribly, terribly sad in every level, because finances and losing a child and all that. And the thing was, my mom was so ill. Number one, they did not tell her. Number two, my Grandma Rose quickly took her out of the hospital because she was so afraid my mom would die. But my mom was really, against, ADA, against doctor's orders. And my mom said that she had remembered them, because they didn't have a car, riding the streetcar home, and she was still quite ill. But in any case, after a few days, when she was home, this is just, again, what's the word? I'm retelling the story as close to the story as my mom has told me many times over the years. I just want to reiterate that. And they lived in a shared house, so to speak. And my mom was out on the front porch playing or something, and she said on a different level, there was this elderly lady. My mom, every time she spoke of her, characterized her as being a very mean old lady, very mean and very unkind. And what they had told my mom, because she kept asking, where's her little sister? And they said, well, she went to live with their aunt. She's only 8, and she didn't understand that, but you're a child and you accept things. So she's out on the front porch one day, I don't know, maybe a week or two after. And this old lady comes out on the front porch, and she said something like this to her. She said, do you know what happened to your baby sister? My mom would always use this raggedy voice whenever she spoke of this woman, because she said she was just terribly mean. And my mom responded, yes, she went to live with my aunt. She said, she didn't go live with your aunt. She died. And my mom said she fainted. And, she was also in a weakened condition. And she was brokenhearted, to say the least. And they were very afraid of her health, that this would cause her, have serious consequences to her health. So I can't speak much more to the immediacy of that other than that story. And then my mom told me the story of how they lived in a couple places, and I'm not sure at that time if they lived close to Old Littleton or if they were in Denver. I would actually have to look that up, because I have their addresses for that date, and I don't know if it's Denver, but either way, my mom said that every week she and because she was the youngest then, and so she was 4 years younger. No. So the next sister, Aunt Jo, was 2 years older, and then Aunt Margie, then Uncle Don, then Aunt Esther, and then Uncle Mark. So she said that they would take the streetcar, and you take Hampton all the way west, and then you go north to Wheat Ridge. As I recall, it's off of Kipling, but you have to know these areas were not developed. And she said they would walk for miles and miles. And my mom remembered this, and this is how I tracked her gravesite down. Let me just tell you, it took me decades to find her, because she did not actually remember that it was Mount Olivet. So I researched, and there's more to that story as well. Took me a couple decades to find the actual cemetery, and also they have her name and their parents' name, I'm going to cough, incorrectly recorded, or they had her as Mary Gennaro, and they had the parents right and the dates right. And I said, no, it's Mary Bellia Genera. So I had to give them my records so they could put it correctly in their records. And this has happened, like I said, in the last few decades when I've been doing my research. Fast forward, my mom only remembered that they would take the streetcar and then walk for miles to go to the graveyard. And all she remembered was that it was near a train track. That was it. Near a train track. So you had to know that I researched, and yes, it is right near a train track, right near. And I'll send you some photos of the location. And something happened there when I went there a month or two ago. In any case, she said they would go there about once a week and visit. And of course, there was no headstone, so they only knew the approximate, well, they knew the location. For me, now I know I have the actual precise location. And that is the story of Bellia. But my mom always spoke of her, of how, she always had these bouncy kind of golden, light brown hair. And it's a devastating story for her because she was sick at the same time, and she kept telling me how much Grandma Rose, my grandma, was so frightened for her that's why they hid the story. And I don't know the time frame. I'm saying 1 to 2 weeks, but because I know she's mentioned it was a little bit of time there, but memories change. It could have been much longer. Who knows? But after that, my mom would travel with my grandma over to the cemetery, and she said it was just right by the train tracks, which indeed it is. And the last time I went, I was there very quiet. A train came by. When we were little, we would wave to the trains. The guy, and I waved to the train, he waved to me, and I don't know why. I just felt like there was, it was just like saying hello, that she's there. And so my heart always wanted to do this for Mom, but I never could pull the money together for this, and it's costly. So in any case, don't even want to go into that. It's just a heart thing for me. And I would love to know that I could do this for my mom and for Bellia, of course, and for all the brothers and sisters. And that's why on her, I put daughter of Ezequiel and Rosario. Actually, my grandma's name was Rosario. And then sister of, and then I listed all the brothers and sisters' names. And now that I have the month and date of both her birth, I don't have the actual date, but the month I do have. But you kind of would have to hear it in my mom's own words, and I bet you anything, if you asked my mom about her sister Bellia, I bet you she could tell you the story in her own words. And I did make a recording of my mom some time ago, so I will see if I can seek that out, because we just talked about a lot of things. It's something you might want to hear if you're at all interested. So that is the story, and why it's so meaningful to me, because this was a heart-rending trauma to her, and especially to her mother, that her mother never seemed to get over, nor did my mom. I think it's because they were close in age, and they were, she made it, her little sister didn't. And they said my mom had heart problems all these years, but which is so funny. As she's gotten older, they said, oh no, my mom's heart's good. So who knows what it was? I don't have all the diagnoses, and records have been lost in time, but I never give up on things like that. I might find the date. Right now we have the month and the year, birth and death. So that's what I have. And that is a story of a beautiful Mary Bellia Genera, who was so dearly loved by her family.